Good morning, students. Welcome to your English literature class. The topic for our today's tutorial is The Merchant of Venice, Act 1, Scene 3, lines 46 to 85. Children, the objectives of this video are, by the end of this video, you will be able to explain the meanings of difficult words according to the context, tell some of the references that we have read in the text, answer the related questions. So children, in the previous video, we saw that Shylock wishes to have hold on Antonio once so that he could satisfy his ancient grudge against him, as Antonio has always insulted him. Antonio always abused him for his business deals and his hard-earned profits, which Antonio calls by the name of interest. Shylock even says that may his own tribe be cursed if he ever forgives Antonio. So now children, we will read lines 46 to 54. Bassanio, touching him. Shylock, do you hear? Shylock, I am debating of my present store, and by the near guess of my memory, I cannot instantly raise up the gross of full 3,000 ducats. What of that? Tubal, a wealthy Hebrew of my tribe, will furnish me. But soft, how many months do you desire? To Antonio, rest you fair, good Señor. Your worship was the last man in our mouths. So children, let us read the word meanings. So children, the meaning of the word debating. So children, let us read the word meanings now. Debating means calculating. Present store means ready money. Gross means the full sum. What of that means it doesn't matter. Hebrew means Jew. Furnish means supply. Soft means wait a little. Rest you fear means greeting. So children, Bassanio shakes Shylock and asks him if he is listening to him. To this, Shylock replies that he is thinking about the cash he has in store, as he cannot raise the entire amount of 3,000 ducats immediately. But he further says that it doesn't matter, as Tubal, a wealthy Jew of his tribe, will supply him with the cash. After this, he immediately asks Bassanio for how many months he needs the money. At the same time, children, Antonio enters the scene, and Shylock, on seeing him, asks him about his well-being and tells him that both of them were just talking about him only. So children, now we will read the gist of these lines. Bassanio asks Shylock if he has heard him. Shylock replies that he was calculating how much cash he has at present. He says that as far as his memory goes, he cannot immediately raise the full sum of 3,000 ducats. However, that doesn't matter, as Tubal, a wealthy Jew of his tribe, will lend him the money. Shylock further asks him about the time period for which he needs that loan. Shylock greets Antonio as he comes and tells him that he and Bassanio were talking about him only. Now children, we will read lines 56 to 60. Antonio, Shylock, albeit, I neither lend nor borrow, by taking nor by giving excess. Yet, to supply the ripe wants of my friend, I'll break a custom. To Bassanio, is he yet possessed? How much ye would? Shylock, 3,000 ducats. Children, let us read the meanings of difficult words. Albeit means although. Ripe means urgent. Possessed means informed. Yea means you. Means yes. So children, Antonio tells Shylock that he neither lends nor borrows money at interest, but to help his friend he is willing to break this custom, and he shall borrow money from him at interest. Then he asks Bassanio if Shylock knows that how much money Bassanio needs. To this, Shylock replies that he knows it is 3,000 ducats. Now children, we will read the gist of these lines. Antonio tells Shylock that he neither lends nor borrows. He also tells him that he doesn't take another man's spare money nor gives his own to anyone. However, in order to meet the immediate needs of his friend Bassanio, he shall break his custom. Antonio asks Bassanio if he has told Shylock about the amount of money he requires. Shylock tells him that he knows that the amount is 3,000 ducats. Now children, let us read lines 61 to 65. Antonio: and for 3 months. Shylock: I had forgot 3 months. You told me so. Well then, your bond, and let me see, but hear you, methought. You said you neither lend nor borrow upon advantage. So children, hear you means listen to me. Methought means I think. Upon advantage means with interest. So children, Antonio tells him further that it is for 3 months. Shylock replies that he had forgotten about this. He was already told by Bassanio that it is for 3 months, and then looks at Antonio and asks him about his guarantee. He further tells Antonio that he just mentioned that he neither lends nor borrows money on interest. So children, let us read the gist of these lines. Antonio further mentions the time period of 3 months, to which Shylock says that he has forgotten that Bassanio has already told him that it is for 3 months. He says that as Antonio has told him, so he would like to sign the bond. He tells Antonio to listen to him. He says that Antonio has just mentioned that he neither lends nor borrows money on interest. Now children, we will read lines 66 to 71. Antonio: I do never use it. Shylock: when Jacob grazed his uncle Laban's sheep, this Jacob from our holy Abraham was, and his wise mother wrote in his behalf. The third possessor, he was the third. Antonio: and what of him? Did he take interest? So children, grazed means led out to pasture. Was means was descended. Wrote means schemed. A means yes. So children, the reference here used is the third possessor, the third heir to the family estates. The succession passed from father to son in the order of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Jacob should not have been the heir since he was younger than his brother Esau. But Jacob's mother contrived a trick to have Jacob made Isaac's heir instead of Esau. So Jacob became the third possessor. Antonio replies that it is true that he neither lends nor borrows money on interest. On hearing this, Shylock quotes their holy Abraham's successor, Jacob, who grazed his uncle Laban's sheep. Jacob was the heir to his grandfather Abraham's birthright because his mother cleverly arranged for her husband Isaac to make Jacob his heir. After listening to this, Antonio asks Shylock about the point of telling all this. He further asks Shylock if Jacob charged any interest. Now children, let us read the gist of these lines. Antonio says that he never does so. Shylock says that when their prophet Jacob, who descended from their holy Abraham and grazed his uncle Laban's sheep, his clever mother planned on his behalf so that he became the third successor to the family property. Shylock thinks for a while and says that he truly was the third possessor. Antonio, on hearing this, asks Shylock what about Jacob and if he charged interest. Now children, let us read lines 72 to 78. Shylock: no, not take interest, not, as you would say. Directly interest. Mark what Jacob did when Laban and himself were compromised, that all the younglings which were streaked and pied should fall as Jacob's hire. This was a way to thrive, and he was blessed, and thrift is blessing, if men steal it not. So children, compromised means agreed. Younglings means newborn lambs. Streaked and pied means were with the fleeces of 2 colors. Hire means payment. Thrive means succeed. Blessed means blessed. Thrift means profit. So children, the reference here used is grazed, led out to pasture. The Bible story is as follows. Jacob, the son of Abraham, went to serve for a time under his uncle Laban. A bargain was made between Jacob and Laban that the former should receive for his services all the lambs which were born with spots or stripes. When the breeding season arrived, the wily Jacob peeled certain rods and placed them in the ground so that the shadows should fall upon the sheep when in the process of breeding. By this means, he was supposed to influence the mothers so that almost all the lambs were born spotted or striped and so became the property of Jacob. So, children, Shylock denies this and says that Jacob didn't charge interest, not in Antonio's sense of the word interest. He tells Antonio to listen to what Jacob did. When Jacob and Laban agreed that all the spotted and striped lambs would be Jacob's payment for grazing the sheep, it was the end of autumn, while the sheep were to give birth to babies. Jacob stuck some spotted branches into the ground right in front of the sheep, who saw them throughout their breeding period. Most of the babies were spotted and striped, all of which went to Jacob's share. That was his way of earning profit, and it worked. Shylock tells his point is that profit is a blessing, as long as one doesn't steal to get it. Now children, let us read the gist of these lines. Shylock denies that Jacob did not take interest. He further adds that not as Antonio understands the meaning of word interest, which means direct interest. Shylock told Antonio to note what Jacob did to Laban. He tells that Jacob had agreed that all the newborn lambs that were striped or spotted should be Jacob's share as the payment for his services to Uncle Laban. That was the way to become rich, and he was blessed in doing so. Shylock also says that all profit is a blessing if men do not steal it from others. Now children, we will read lines 79 to 85. Antonio, this was a venture, sir, that Jacob served for, a thing not in his power to bring to pass, but swayed and fashioned by the hand of heaven. Was this inserted to make interest good? Or is your gold and silver ewes and rams? Shylock, I cannot tell. I make it breed as fast, but note me, Signor. So children, venture means enterprise. Served means worked. To bring to pass means to let it happen. Swayed means controlled. Fashioned means designed. Heaven means God. Inserted means mentioned. Breed as fast means make my money as fast as ewes and rams. Note me means listen me. Signor means sir. So children, the reference here used is line 77 from this was to served for. The biblical story was that Jacob had entered Laban's service first in order to gain a wife and then in order to gain a flock. But Antonio retorts that Jacob earned this reward by service and not by merely allowing his money to gain interest. In addition, Antonio casts doubt on the old biblical story and says that Jacob could not possibly have influenced the birth of the lambs in this manner. The feeling between Jew and Christian is becoming apparent here, and for a moment they almost forget the loan which they are discussing. Children, the another reference is used in line number 82. Was this good? Was this episode introduced into the Bible in order to justify the taking of interest? Antonio asks this rather sharply because he thinks that Shylock's argument has nothing to do with the taking of interest at all, and resents that the Jew should try to justify his money lending by biblical quotations. So children, Antonio on hearing all this says to Shylock that the business venture which Shylock is referring to happened because God made it happen like that. Jacob didn't have any control over what happened. He further asks Shylock if he is saying that story to prove that charging interest makes sense and if his interest payments are like Jacob's rams and ewes. Shylock replies to Antonio by saying that he can hardly say if he is making money multiply as fast as the rams and ewes. He further tells Antonio to listen to him. Now children, let us read the gist of these lines. Antonio replies that it was an enterprise for which Jacob worked, and it was not in his power to make it happen. It was controlled and designed by the hand of God. He further asks that if all this was mentioned in order to justify the charging of interest, or if Shylock considers his gold and silver as ewes and rams. Shylock replies that he cannot tell Antonio that he makes money increase as fast as ewes and rams, but he tells Antonio to listen to him. So children, this is the end of our today's lecture. Do the homework given in your SNAP homework. Thank you.